Yet another Vitality Vibes. I'm here with Katie Snyder, who's been with us for how long? About 3 months or so? 4 months?
Yeah, since November.
Since November. Oh, it's been glorious. I have had the pleasure of not only receiving body work with Katie, but also, and the journey. I got to do the journey. I can't wait to talk about that. But also I see people when they come out of the room and how profoundly impacted they are. So there's so many things you bring to the table. And I'm really excited to just talk about healing and trauma and how to create a trauma aware space. And there's just so much that you're offering in terms of healing to the valley. And so we just want to sit down and have a convo about that.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if first you can just tell us a little bit about what brought you into healing work. I mean, you've got quite the resume. Started out as an occupational therapist?
Yeah. I have a marketing degree that I bartended for many years with. And then I went into occupational therapy. I worked primarily with kids to start, and then moved into geriatric care. And the foundation of my healing, that's a pathway of healing that's a bit more of the vein, of the standard vein, and yoga was my foundation. And I
started with yoga before occupational therapy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yoga started in college.
And I just had a yoga class with you, my first yoga class.
Yeah.
And there were so many integrations of things that I don't expect to experience in a yoga class. The gong was there. So we had sound healing. The breath work was there. There's always breath in yoga, and it's a focus. It's a standalone even. And then we bring it into the body with you. And then some of the posturing. Again, I'm not taking a lot of yoga classes. Who has time for everything? Unfortunately not. But I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, the shaking. I've never done shaking in a yoga class.
Yeah,
That was really
so good.
And I could feel how that kind of turned on my energy, and then to go back to just letting it calm and integrate. It was powerful.
Thank you.
So you started with yoga. There's so many unique parts of yourself that you bring together. Were you starting to do those things in college, or were you more of like, I'm just following the rules, I'm getting my feet underneath me? How did it begin?
Yeah, yoga came in to kind of pull me from the insanity that college can be, and that our early 20 life can be. and it just took me by the reins, and I was mystified by the practice and how it slowed me down, and mystified by the gong. Foundation of mine in yoga is Kundalini Yoga, where the gong is an inherent part of it. And
oh wow!
The beauty of the gong is it just like sends you straight into a meditative state. Like it's like, I call it a cheat code for meditation.
Can I send them into
Please.
a meditative state? You just have to keep talking. I'm gonna stay right here.
But once I got turned on to the gong, I was like, I don't want to do shavasana without the gong. In my classes, no matter if I'm teaching Kundalini Yoga or any other type of yoga, I bring the gong, and it's just it brings us into that restful space that so many of us have such challenge finding in this chaotic world that we live in.
And is there a certain frequency that this gong plays, or is it?
This gong is a planetary gong, and it's tuned to the planet Nibiru, which is it's kind of it's an out there kind of planet, but this one, it's especially good for transitionary spaces. It's touted to be used in hospice type experiences, and it's deep and lovely and very transcendental.
Ancient tech.
Yes.
They knew about frequencies back then.
Yeah.
We're discovering them now.
Right. There's so much about sound that we barely even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen the cymatic plates where they play the frequency and it lines up? Yeah. Blows my mind.
And
so much healing.
And
so
what
good.
It does to water. And, we are water.
Yes.
So how it organizes the molecular structure that we are, and we can do so much with sound that can take a lot of time and effort in other ways that is just a straight shot with sound and very accessible measure as well.
So you're almost 40, your birthday's coming up.
Coming up.
How many years have you been in? I mean, if you started in college, you're like 20 years into this healing work?
Yeah, first, within myself, first it was mainly practice. And I just taught yoga. I taught yoga for years before coming into breath work and sound healing as standalones. And, it's been, my path through it has created the journeys and the combinations that I love to offer.
Let's talk about the journey.
Yeah.
So did you come up with that concept? How long have you been doing the journey session for people? I'll tell you what my experience was in a minute, but
it just makes sense to me. I love to use the gong with breath work, and the gong helps you to land into the breath, and especially whenever I invite sound with the breath, I like how the gong fills the space with sound so one feels safer to express. Because it's not always very easy to use our voice. So many of us have been shush in our lives.
Right.
And it's really powerful. When we use our voice with the exhale, it vibrates the vagus nerve, and that's our master nerve of the nervous system, and it stimulates the parasympathetic state. And it just kind of, sends us again that cheat code. So I find that using the breath and the gong at the start of the session just opens the body into the state of receptivity that if we just come from, walking in and laying on the table, it's a different state from which to drop into. So
there's no way. You tend to do pretty deep work, although I know you modulate based on your clients, and there's no way I could have received the depth of work that you give if I had not been able to drop in with the sound and the breath. I think that's what makes it. It takes away my armor,
right?
And and then I'm there, just like, oh, my faith is there. I believe. I'm like so receptive to the work.
And that's the beauty of it, is there's so much available with that opening into receptivity.
Yes.
It softens that exterior, it softens the cage that we tend to hold ourselves in. And from there, so much is available. Safe. Yeah.
It's not like it's bad that we have a cage. We're just trying to make it.
And that's what brought me into this work, is through my own lived experience of the cage that I've felt held in within my body for many years.
And that's a part of the gifting that I've not only received, but that I've observed over and over again. One of the things that we do at Wellspring is we get your permission to be able to work together with you. And it's not like I've worked together with Katie on her clients, but what happens is we get to observe the profound effects of people when they come out. Whether it be they've just finished having an emotional release, or they're still having an emotional release, and they need to embrace for a bit, just as closure for this intimate space that was created that gave them the ability to totally let go. It is profound to see. And one thing I keep telling Katie, you've been in healing work for a long time, but you haven't necessarily been doing body work or the integration of the sound, the breath, and the body work together for a really long time.
Right.
And she is a master in the making. And I do not ever say that lightly. I don't just put that out there to everybody.
It means a lot. Thank you.
Well, just speaking the truth. So
been a journey.
Isn't it?
And it continues to be. Yeah, I first bodywork wasn't on my path from what I thought, honestly.
Although you had experience with bodies in occupational therapy.
Yeah, very much.
And
loved it, and I wasn't sure. I had my hands in many buckets, and the yoga bucket goes really deep, and I knew the bodywork bucket went pretty deep. I was like, I feel like I'm gonna get drowned in these buckets. But then life really led me to bodywork.
And how did life lead you? Because that's a story really for all of us who end up with, for every day putting our hands on people and connecting with their hearts. What was the step? What turned the lock for you?
Well, I stepped into it for myself first. I was a caregiver for my mother through the pandemic and came out of that chapter following her passing just feeling such a lack of safety in my body. I had a challenging experience with my stepdad, and just she and I were pretty alone within that chapter, and just like my body was in this pervasive state of survival mode. And I noticed that I was resisting touching my yoga students, and also noticing how much my body needed touch. And it was this interesting dichotomy, and I sat with them. I was like, well, I can either spend thousands of dollars to give myself to receive, massage, which would be great. And I also needed the medicine of learning how to touch others and feeling comfortable and safe with that. Again, and also in a new way. I grew up in a family that didn't really touch much, and I wasn't a cuddler with my friends growing up. And so it's been a beautiful just evolution of safety in my body, safety with other bodies, and I've been able to then generalize and integrate my work on the mat and my work with these beautiful instruments onto the table, and also my work in trauma informed care as well. Safety is paramount, and I make a joke about this sometimes, that it's nothing to be joked about, but like there's how much more vulnerable can you be than naked on a table with a stranger,
right?
And finding that self-source sense of safety on that table can generalize into other areas of our lives. And that's my prayer and hope with each of my sessions, is that I'm helping to set the space for you to find that safety, and for you to have that sense of self-agency to ask for what you need. So often we don't have with the voice, we don't have the capacity to find our voice, especially in these vulnerable states.
Right.
And so again, that sense of generalization. So there's so much available with, this container, these containers that we get to work in.
And you brought up something about the medicine of being able to connect with other people's bodies. I'm not sure if you said it exactly like that, but for a long time I've been saying healing is 360. So when I as a body worker, when you as a body worker, when we connect with someone and they have that release, we are with them doing some of our own work. Whether it be the act of getting to push ourselves beyond even our comfort level to meet them, and to hold them if that's what they need. It's just, it's such a miracle.
Such an honor
that we get to do this work in these rooms, and
totally.
And it's just something that happens one-on-one. It's like a once in a lifetime dance. And that's how I feel about your work. Hardly anybody is doing this integration. I'm sure there are people who do it, but you talk about places like Massage Envy and Massage Heights and all these other franchises that, in my opinion, there's some great body workers there, of course, because they're everywhere. But in my opinion, and the corporate system of training people to do massages, training people about contraindications, don't touch this, don't do that, and it's missing the intuition and the connection and the sync that we do to connect two souls. And so it's so amazing to me to be able to work with people who understand that it's not any of that stuff. Those are things that we can think about lightly, but they are not the practice and the art of healing, dancing, intuitive body work. And that's what you do. It's really cool to experience that. So,
and thank you for your receptivity. This is the first place where I've worked in a team format in this way, because I didn't feel like there was space for me in other places, in the way that Wellspring has just so warmly welcomed me, and just really seen and lifted up the vision of what is available to offer. And what's beautiful about this work too is it can be adapted to anyone. We get to meet people as they are and with what they're ready for. And if what someone needs is a traditional massage, totally. You don't have to pay any attention to the breath. You don't have to do anything other than lay there and receive in the way that feels most right. We get to meet ourselves as we are, where we are, when we are, and that's enough. There's never any expectation in how one shows up.
Right. That's so important too, is to know that, because I've experienced this with you on the table, and what I try to do in my work too is let the person know you're in control. You get to speak for what you need. I am here for you. This is not a power over relationship. This is right here. And I'm here to support exactly what you need today. Even if I have an idea in my head of something that might be really good, you know best. So.
And what a miracle to be, I celebrate every time a client tells me exactly what they need, because it doesn't happen that often. And it's such an expression of again, self-agency.
And it's really fun to watch someone as they mature in that, because I've had clients who come in for a long time and at first they couldn't say anything, and then you get a few sessions in and you've been training them to speak up, and then they get to the point where like, oh, don't do that, no, I need a blanket, and it's like, that's when you know, what the best thing you can do for any massage therapist ever is tell them what you need, because that's what we want to do. As a whole, there are some people who have like their robotic technique and that's all you're gonna get. But most of us who love what we do, we're so passionate about, you want me to get in between your toes for 5 minutes? I'm there. I'm in between your toes. So it's such an honor to get to meet people there. So is there anything else that you want to say about breath work? Did it heal you? Were you at a place where, because how many hours of training? 500 hours?
More. Yeah, I've done probably two different 500 hours, and my foundation in yoga, Kundalini Yoga, is very breath oriented, so that's where I first fell in love with the breath. And I used the breath more in that practice element, and it wasn't until I was caring for my mom that the more transformational breath came in for me. And I did my first breathwork training. It was a trauma-informed breathwork training, and I would go down in the basement while she was watching TV and be in this portal of breath, which gave me a container to hold all that I was holding, and to move grief and to move anger and frustration. And caregiving is I have such honor and appreciation for all of us who show up to that assignment. And it's I'm so grateful for breath work. I don't know how I would have made it through without. And I've loved to cultivate my offerings to include that accessible, for one. I love how the first breathwork training that I did was trauma informed. Because there's many pathways out there that are very just like rigid and like, this is the way, this is the only way, and you're gonna breathe until you have this breakthrough, and
that doesn't help for people who have PTSD or complex trauma. That's one thing I noticed in your yoga class is that you always say maybe. Maybe you could do this, maybe you could do that. Consider the possibility, or rest in this if you'd like, if this is what's right for your body. And giving those cues is so important, because you still have choice. Because in trauma, most of the time you didn't have choice, and you didn't have anyone who was there. You didn't have this beautiful voice that you have that's just there holding the space, saying, I'm with you, and if you need anything, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you resolve this. So that's just a really powerful part of that work. I did Wim Hof for years. And it's kind of like, it is that breathwork practice of we just push through. He has kindness with it. And It was very helpful, and I can't wait. This is going to be your first time here that you're teaching this intro to breath work.
Yeah.
And that's starting tomorrow night. So if you're seeing this, it's too late, but you can always get in touch with Wellspring and say, when's the next one? Or check our website, because I don't think this is going to be a one-off.
Yeah.
This is a practice that is going to grow, is really going deep into breath work. It's so important to be able to, learning how to, even if you come, let's say that your whole family is going through stress, but you're the only one who wants to come and do a breathwork practice and learn about it, you begin to be able to help people co-regulate.
Yeah.
They don't even know that it's happening, but you're breathing, and they're up here, and you're breathing down here, and you might lean in for a touch, and all of a sudden, they're starting to match you. There's just so much that's
magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I love about the breath too is, I start with safety, and learning safety with self, with slowing down, with finding that breath and learning where to breathe. And from there we get to ramp it up. And whenever we do, we'll spend the first few sessions really anchoring in those foundational breaths, which can support in day-to-day life for one, as a daily practice, and we'll also include it in more of a journey type fashion. And we'll build up to more of that longer journey format, which will include some activation, which we get to choose.
Tell me what activation is.
So there's,
for somebody who's watching.
Thank you. Yeah, there's so for contrast, there's the slower, spacious, expansive, grounding breath.
And that sighing is so good. Like, it's just
good.
We want to give them a couple takeaways,
Yeah.
and just that act of sighing on an exhale can totally calm you down, even when things feel really intense.
Yeah, the gong is a cheat code for meditation. The sigh is the cheat code for safety.
Oh, I love that.
And the sigh, when we sigh, and it's an expression of pleasure. And when we're receiving pleasure, of all kinds, it's not just in the romantic sense. There's so many ways to experience pleasure. When we experience pleasure in our body, we are inherently safe.
I'm thinking of yum. Is this like a sigh, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, this is so good.
Yeah, and sighs can be done mouth open or mouth closed. And
you can't have pleasure if you don't have safety. You just taught me that. I never thought about that before. I think there are some, I guess we don't want to go into masochism here, but there's
nuances.
But there's a lot of things that some people might have pleasure in and safety that I'm not going to.
And that's why it's self-sourced. I can't tell you that you're safe. I can't say that this is a safe space. That's for you to discern. We create a brave space together, but there's no such thing as me defining what a safe space is for one another.
And wow, you're teaching me so much here. I spent, and I'm not a victim of this, but the way that I grew up, I never felt safe. And I will say never. And I didn't realize that I was not safe. I just knew I was always looking around trying to be safe. So, and then, in other experiences that I had in my life, I would say most of my life I haven't felt safe. And I'm now in a place where I can remember a couple of years ago going, what is this? What is this state? It was where I was actually feeling pleasure and calm and being able to actually be in the moment. And you think about it, I've been doing body work for over 25 years now. So that means there was a lot of time in there that I was giving something and trying to create safe space, but I was not even internally safe. And so it's really so awesome to have been through so many healing gifts from so many people who've helped me to release and to come to awareness, and so I can be safe. I'm just saying, guys, if there's hope for me to feel safe, anybody could probably be safe.
Well, and your experience supports so many, and you have that lived experience of feeling, that lack for so long, as well as a lived experience of what it's like to really land in the safety within you. Like, that's a miracle.
It is a miracle.
And
It is a miracle.
What a gift to share.
Yeah. I've had several clients who, when they found out, because they've asked, kind of personal questions, and because of where they were and their experience, I knew I could say something without it being traumatic for them, and share just like a tidbit of, I was only hugged once when I was a kid. And so it's a miracle that I can be with bodies the way that I am.
Absolutely.
Wow. And it feels like such an honor to do that. So it's just amazing, like you said. Every single one of my clients has contributed to my healing. It's not like I show up to go, oh, I'm showing up to get healed today. It just happens.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the space open-handed and they're open to receive, it just flows.
Yeah, we receive by giving. It's a reciprocal experience.
Yes. Are you guys tracking with this?
Add in some life force and man.
So trauma focused. So you've got body work, breath work, sound healing.
Oh, I never showed activation.
Oh yeah. Oh boy. You should never talk to someone who has as much ADHD as I have.
So laughter is another great component with the breath. I like to bring laughter into some of my journeys sometimes because
so important.
It's so important, and it's such a great release, and it softens the body, and cheat code to joy.
Yes. Well, and joyous connection.
Yes.
So laughing together.
And we can take this healing path way too seriously.
I've seen several really classic YouTube videos of these people. They're kind of new age people themselves, but they totally make fun of new age people, which I think needs to happen. I just had my green smoothie and now I'm bowing to this, and then I'm gonna, eat carrots and then put them through my nose. I mean, they just, because we can take it so seriously that we're just as religious and dogmatic as the people who are hating on people because of their religion, So it's, let's laugh, let's chill out a bit.
Yeah,
let's love each other.
I used my yoga practice to spiritually bypass for years, thinking it would be my salvation out of the pain that I was having trouble touching. And the practice worked. It kept me going, and it didn't help me meet the depths. And that's the thing with breath work, is it helps to really get into the belly and into the pelvic area where we tend to store a lot of these experiences and emotions. And again, it creates that safe container. Like whenever we're in a yoga class, I've had many yoga classes where I cried. You get into hip postures, and sometimes you're just a fountain of tears. But
SOAS says it's time to let it all go.
But it's very different from a breathwork experience where there's just this sense of containment. And it's not to say that every breathwork experience will be this huge healing portal. Healing for you that day might be a beautiful sense of relaxation. It might be inspiration that comes in, and guidance.
So the crying is activation?
No, I didn't. We haven't.
Yeah.
Who has ADHD here?
Raise your hand. I actually don't know what activation is. I'm not asking because I'm trying to help them out. I'm asking because I'm like, I've heard that word, but I don't know exactly what it is.
Activation is an activating breath, which can then activate. It can tend to, it helps you to lean into and welcome. Sometimes the breath mimics the state of anxiety. Sometimes it can bring that sense of frustration and bring in agitation into the body that then opens up the threshold into release. So an activating breath might be the breath of fire.
I had a little one. One of my little ones, she did that all the time.
Oh.
It was so cute. She's like 2 years old.
Kids just know.
She'd walk around doing that.
And another good one is a cannon breath. It's kind of like the breath of fire, but through the O of the mouth.
Oh, I've heard you doing that.
It's a bit more activating. and the belly pulses while you're doing it, so you're really getting into that lower triangle of the chakras.
And isn't that where we breathe? Babies, don't they breathe?
Yeah,
Their bellies are
belly.
moving.
Babies and puppies, we just naturally breathe in that way. And
until we learn the wrong way to breathe from
and
watching other people.
so many, and just out of fear as well. Like, what does fear feel like in our body? We constrict, and we have this short chest breath, and so many of us just become conditioned to maintain that chest breath, and it doesn't feel safe to breathe into the belly because it doesn't feel safe to be in that part of our body because we're storing so much there. So that's why safety is the foundation. Safety with softness, safety with slowness, safety with self. You know, this world is so erratic right now, and we just busy ourselves like crazy. You know, we're always on our
How can
phone.
I get distracted?
Totally. And, you know, 5 minutes of slowing down can be so hard. Can be so hard. So that's where we start. And just as you named with what we experienced in the yoga class today with the shaking, like in breath work and just with the gong as well, there's this arc line of activation where there's crescendos that happen.
Thought we should feel the arc line of activation.
Exactly. There's these crescendos that happen, you know, with the gong, with our breath, with the movement, and it mimics. It helps the nervous system to train. It helps to attune ourselves to how we can coach our nervous system back into a state of regulation and safety amidst activation. You know, I'll never forget the first time that I got pulled over after being in these depths of practices, and my system didn't go into alarm. It's like, whoa, that's cool. And of course I was, you know, not happy by the situation, but I wasn't in this state of like, oh gosh, I'm gonna get in so much trouble, you know.
The ticket, the this, the that.
All the things, the spiral that comes with it. And this is why we do this work. You know, we show up on the mat, we show up on the table, we show up on the cushion so that these practices generalize into our everyday lives, and we can be in a state of conflict with our partner or our friend or our mother, and to hold our ground and to say what feels right in the moment rather than come from reaction.
Which is totally in line with something that I've been saying at the end of a lot of my workout classes. I didn't say it to you the other day. And it's really why Wellspring exists. You just said it in your language. I'm going to say it a little simpler, is we are creating spaces, healing spaces, encounters, workshops, empowering education, wellness technologies. All of those things are set to release negative energies, anxiety, tension, pain, confusion. All of these things, we're releasing them, and they're going to stir up positive energies so that you can go out into the world and multiply love into the world in the way that only you can, in the way that only I can, in the way that only you can. We each have a really specific gift or gifts, a set of gifts that no one else in the world can offer. I mean, that's what we've just been highlighting here with getting to hear your story, getting to hear about your gifts and how you integrate things together. And, you know, if we could do that for just one person, then we've met our mission. Because that one person is like a little drop, boop, and then it pushes out into their family, their friends, their intimate relationships, where all of a sudden you can be calmer, you can serve a little more, you can have more creativity, you can dance, you can decide no matter what's going on in the world, I only have this circle of influence. And if you're not, and if you've been activated, see if I can understand it, in a way that you've released and gone into a place where it's maybe deeper honesty, deeper creativity, the ability to just let something go and not have it stored in your body or in your fascia anymore, all of a sudden you have more capacity. And that's really what we're doing here. And we don't know what it does in the world. Sometimes y'all might tell us a story, but we don't get to see it, but you do. Because you were willing to come in here and invest in the time to learn, to receive, and to breathe. You know, people can do breath work on our wellness technologies. You can get into the salt room and have your own breath work practice. And I'm just grateful. My hope and desire is that you're rooted in this North Fork Valley in a way that for much time to come, you're sharing these gifts.
Yes, please.
Is there, you also do retreats, and
I
we're
do.
gonna be working on retreats. And she will be, you know, do you want to share your website, or is there anything else that you want to share with people, just to let them know other ways that they can connect with you besides Wellspring?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my website is becomeunfurled.com. And I'm presently mostly doing retreats in Missouri. I've done a little mini retreats here in Colorado that I'm looking forward to.
We're going to be
expanding.
ramping that up,
Yeah,
for sure.
Expanding some more.
Yes.
I'm not going anywhere. Feels really good to be here.
Good. For any of you that have had body work with Katie, you're also going, yes, I'm gonna get more. So another thing that we have going, depending on when you see this will be kind of evergreen content, but through the end of April 2026, anytime you book a first time session with Katie, you're gonna get 10% off. She will be filling up. So if you're curious and you want to experience, whether it be the journey or even just her innovative approach to body work without the breath, without the sound, you're going to need to jump on that. That's not something that you can sit around and wait for a long time on, because she will fill up. She's also, for those of you that are vets, she is working on that credentialing process. So veterans are going to be able to receive this wonderful experience as well.
We'll soon be offering some one-on-one breathwork opportunities as well.
And maybe in the salt room. So, so many creative things that are going to be coming. I'm grateful that we get to co-create together in this space. And thank you. If you've made it all the way through the end, thank you so much for just spending time investing in knowing about what we're doing and what we're creating here. We are a nonprofit now. So if there are things, if you'd like to pay it forward, you could invest in some sessions so that somebody who can't afford can come here and get these services. That's what we're creating. And Medicaid, Medicare, we are approved for that now. So lots of good things coming, and our goal is to make it as accessible as possible. So
Such a gift.
So we love you, we love vitality, and I think that's a wrap for yet another episode of, see if you can do it with me, let's throw these gang signs, Vitality Vibes.